So all of these people are having unconscious moments. Laughter is an unconscious moment. I'm going to cry is an unconscious moment. Actually crying is an unconscious moment. Eyes closed is an unconscious moment. Any kind of departure from consciousness is unconscious because that's the only other place there is to go. So what you must think is, what does this client need in order to change their relationship to this problem? It's not about what I can say as the therapist. It's not about what I can impose on them or what I can offer. It's what they would like. Like Philip would like to be more human. Well, I could interpret that 5,000 ways and tell him my opinion of, dealing with people with dementia 5,000 ways. But if he didn't say more human, which is the way he thinks about it, all of what I said would be irrelevant. It would be like, oh, some other lady telling me a bunch of nonsense that I already know. But when he says more human to himself, that's what he needs to think. That's how his problem gets unraveled. So it has nothing to do with me or what I know. And you will get into that bind in yourself where you're like, oh, I know how to solve this one. Like, oh, I know if they could just think this one thing, then everything would work. But it won't work. Try it. Try to solve people's problems by giving them suggestions and advice. That's good advice. It won't work. It's like your best friend who keeps dating the wrong guy. You're like, stop dating that guy. They're like, I don't know how. I can't. Because their mind doesn't understand what your advice is. It doesn't put it together. So until they unravel the problem on their own terms, it's not unraveled. So the only way to allow a client their own access point is to encourage their subconscious moments, their unconscious moments. So here are the various kinds of subconscious moments, and you guys can unmute yourselves and shout them out. There are visual ones. So like, what are some that you can identify that are visual?
Like closing his eyes, right?
Totally. That was a classic hypnotic.
Maybe looking up. I don't
And
know.
by the way, some people will never close their eyes in the session, and you're going to think, are they in hypnosis? They are. You don't need to close your eyes. But yes, eyes closed is one. Eye fluttering. Yep.
Do you think looking up is one?
Totally, except for I wouldn't say like some, in NLP, they're like, if you look to the left, it's lying. If you look to the right, it's, truth, or there's all these systems of reading it. That's not true.
'Cause sometimes that's just thinking, don't you think? Like you look up to remember something, or you think that's going into subconscious?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. So if somebody looks up to retrieve information, where are they going?
I think memory, but I know what the answer is subconscious, obviously.
I mean, I think the memory is the data point of the subconscious. Like all of your memories are recorded in your subconsciousness. So anytime you retrieve a memory, you are going into your subconscious.
Right.
I mean, the really weird, I guess, feature of the subconscious, well, it has a lot of weird features, but one of them is it's a data collection unit with no sorting system. So like all the memories are stacked up there, but not in any like useful order necessarily. So it is true that when a person needs to retrieve something, they're kind of like going through a storage facility. Like, oh, well, where is it? Oh, here, this is the one I wanted.
Right.
So absolutely, when people are searching for that thing, they're going into their subconscious. And that's a moment of fractionation. So when you notice a fractionation, all you want to do is encourage it. That's it, right there. That's it, right there, right? You can even say them, right? And then they're like, oh yeah, that is where it is, right? Okay, so just stay there. I don't have anywhere to go right now. And that's it. We just keep their attention right there. What are some other visual subconscious moments? The
So he
skin.
kept, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
He kept rubbing like his face, like,
Yes. And
um,
and during the tears, there was a big hand on the face.
yeah,
Yep,
yes.
totally. Crying is a visual cue, also auditory.
Maybe like biting their lip or, any of this, some kind of fidget, not necessarily fidgeting, right? But
Totally. And you'll notice some people fidget a certain way in consciousness and a certain way in subconsciousness.
Right.
Also, like just the long pause, even if his eyes were open, just like the long, no words, no response, just
Totally. And I mean, I don't know if you're at the level of reading through Zoom, but I can see the muscles in a person's face. Are they
yeah,
tense? Are they relaxed? Are they in a place of checking deep inside of them? Or are they just waiting for me to say something? You know,
right.
like these are
Are
the,
they like annoyed? Like,
yeah,
come on,
exactly.
or
Right.
yeah,
Is there expectation? Is there patience? Like the face says a lot. By the way, you can totally do this. I saw one of my students on this call. I think she's gone now. But anyway, she does them all on the phone. She doesn't do any visual because that's who she is. She's very auditory. I can't quite do that. For me, it's important to have the visual. So other visual cues are also flush skin. Sometimes you'll notice somebody like go totally red or go totally pale or like go turn green, you know, like I've seen people be like, oh, that makes me feel extremely nauseous. And then their skin gets a whole other way, clammy, sweating, all kinds. Auditory, we already said crying, yelling. I've had people yell at me or yell at the whatever they're yelling at. What other auditory?
Sighing, a lot of
Oh,
sighing.
yep. Sighs, pauses, throat clearing. Sometimes people cough out their problems. I've seen somebody, you know, I've seen several people get to their problem and then just have a coughing fit or need to cough. Any other auditory? Mhm.
throat clearing.
Yeah. Some people
Stuttering.
stuttering, yeah, definitely. Some people's diction changes, like the kinds of words that they use, like when they get more comfortable, they become a different version of themselves, you know, more into an accent, more into swearing, more into whatever it is, less into something else. So what you're noticing is there's tons of these unconscious moments. It's not like you can read them, but you can read when they're occurring. You can read what's different from somebody's conscious self to their subconscious self. So we're not looking for like a list that applies to everyone. We're looking for, oh, here are ways to identify it in each person. I mean, what do I have going here with the magnet? This is another way to read the subconscious.
Like a matching.
Yeah, like energetic magnetism.
Like if you're loud and bubbly, then that's gonna make them be more like not unconscious. They're gonna be more alert and stuff. But if
And
you
not, yeah,
change your voice or mirror them, then they're gonna act the same.
yeah, hopefully. And not everybody is great, you know, matches. So don't be don't be upset if they don't. But yeah, it tends to be a matching of energies. So when I say energetic, I mean, I feel the tension is high and then it goes down. Or I feel that tension is coming on because a certain memory is going to come up. So, like, whatever that is, that energetic thing, which is neither or auditory nor visual, I'm paying attention to that. It's the feel, the vibe, I guess you could say. And the reason I have the magnet is because it like catches my attention on some level. And I can't put my finger on it, but it's right there. And it tells me what the next thing to say is before I even have a chance to think. So that is a very important unconscious tool. So I'm always reading the eyes, the skin tone, the breathing, the emotion, the tone, the voice quality, the feeling, the vibe, all at the same time. So people are going to say, oh, hypnosis, that sounds so easy, you know, what a fun job. And you're like, yeah, it's really cool. I have to read everything about a person in a single moment. That's my job. And I mean, I'm not trying to be self-congratulatory, but like, don't tell yourself it's easy. It's not. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to develop. There's a lot of bandwidth you can develop in terms of this ability to be omni-literate. Omni-literate, that's a good expression I just came up with. So the rules are to get to those unconscious moments the easiest. Don't worry about wrong questions. The only thing that matters about the question is the response. Each question nudges the client more and more away from the problem. There are only two types of responses. By now, you know what they are, right? Conscious or subconscious. That's it. There's no other options. So if you get a conscious piece of information, don't pursue it. Pursue something else. It's not unimportant, but it's not the purpose of the meeting. So ask something else. If you get unconscious moment, especially a significant one or something that you notice especially, then pursue that, follow the response to that. And with enough unconscious information, you start to deepen the hypnotic experience. That's what creates trance. Question that leads to subconsciousness, that leads to question, that leads to subconsciousness, that leads to question, that leads to subconsciousness is hypnosis by fractionation. You could call that an induction if you want. You could call that the equivalent of counting backwards and telling someone to go into a room. But it doesn't have the same quality of artifice. When I count someone into a room, I'm faking how they got to the hypnosis. But if they take themselves there through the fractionation, the whole thing is legit the whole way through. I have never told them that I'm going to begin. I've never told them, hey, it's time to go into trance. So the question options that you have are what questions, when questions, who questions, and how questions. Why questions are not very helpful. Why would that be? Why would a why question not be helpful? Why would we want to avoid a why question?
Well, because they're staying in the conscious mind.
Exactly, because why questions tend to make people defensive or tend to make people feel like, oh, I better, come up with an answer. So you avoid those. I'm not saying I never use them. I mean, why is that important to you? I don't think that's really a why question. So it kind of depends, but I'm just saying I'm flagging you to the fact that if you're starting with why, make sure you're not trying to get them to give you a conscious answer, because then you're defeating yourself. What questions are super useful just to get more details? So what was the point of that? So what was the effect of that? What was the, I don't know. When questions are my favorite because nobody thinks a when question matters in the end. But if you ask somebody, so when would you like to run with your children in the grass and not be, 100 pounds overweight? You see, there's like really nothing attached to that. When would I like it? So she's not asking me how. She's not asking me how, why am I fat? She's not saying something, that every other therapist has asked me. She's saying, when would it be good to be this person? And that gives them an idea of like, when would that be good? Probably this summer would be a good time. And now the subconscious is thinking, okay, if I'm going to do it this summer, what do I need to do right now? And then the next thing you know, you have a whole realm of questions you can ask right there based on what they say back to you. Who questions get you into the relationship with the problem? So who taught you that? Who benefits from that? Like that's something I could have asked with Philip. So who taught you that whole thing of not, being present? And who benefited from that? He would have said my mom. And who was harmed by that? He would have said me. So you can ask who questions without being intrusive. How questions. How do you do that? How does that behavior manifest in your life? How are you going to get there? How are you going to encourage yourself to be more that way? I'm looking at the list that I just gave you guys, which you guys can look at as well. How is this a problem? That's a really important one. A very important what question? What's stopping you? So as we go through the next demo, I'm not going to encourage you to read questions off the sheet, but I am going to say you can use it as a cheat sheet In case you're thinking like, well, I don't know what to ask next. So then just look at the paper and just ask whatever. And I really mean that. You can just ask whatever. No solution-based questions. See my cleaning solutions there? None of those. I'm not going to clean up any problems. And I get there's a double entendre there, cleaning solution, no cleaning solutions. Okay, so on day 3, I'm going to tell you about why I love my method because it's so fast. And basically, I'm down to 1 session for everyone. Sometimes it's 2, but it's really rarely more than that. So it's a super fast method. And the reason it's fast is because I don't do anything. The client does everything. But I will encourage you from a trainer perspective to slow down. If you slow down, you will give less of a pressurized feel. If you're in a rush, the client will feel that pressure. So the more casual you are and the more you're like, whatever, the easier it is for the client to really bypass that conscious resistance. It triggers psychotic insight to be in a rush. You might not even be aware that you're in a rush, but if you are on some level, it will permeate the whole session. So if you rush the person, like, all right, well, you already saw that is the solution, now what? It will slow them down. So don't do that. Forget about getting it done all at once. Forget about the length of the session. Forget about the symptoms. Forget about preparing. Those are my forget-me-not flowers. Just forget everything you know. Forget everything you know. Forget the purpose of the whole thing. Forget your goal. Forget the fact that you feel that you owe them something because they paid you. And come fresh. And just allow. That's it. The client does not need to do anything. They do not need to go into trance. They do not need to have a massive breakthrough in front of you. They don't need to figure out all the details. All they need is to do what their subconscious wants to do in that moment that they haven't had an opportunity to do anywhere else because nobody knows how to do this. And if you think I'm lying, if you think I just blew smoke out of my own ass, and said, well, nobody else knows how, just pause in your own life and ask yourself, do you know anybody who is able to allow you this experience and for you to come out of it minus the problem you came with? Like, do you know somebody who offers that or who achieves that? And I mean, obviously, some of us do know because we're in this business. But like, the truth is, it's not a very popular position. It's not something that people tend to know 100 people who know how to do that. So you feel pressure because you're the practitioner. But the truth is, there's no competition out there of people who know how to read subconscious moments and fertilize them. That's why you're the expert. That's why you're able to get the job done. The actual solution does not necessarily come from your intervention. It comes from the processing. So it's very much incumbent upon you to remind the client of that and to invite that and to trust it yourself. What we're really interested in is this thing called natural unconscious emerging phenomena. I actually think it's out of order there. It should be naturally emerging unconscious phenomena. But what that means is like when Philip said, click, 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 click. That was his way of saying, aha, I feel something. That's a naturally emerging phenomena. I didn't force him to do it. It was spontaneous. That's all we're after. That's where the problems dissolve. So if you have fun and not get obsessed with hypnosis and just allow the hypnosis to be bonus, basically, that's how I see it, then the untying of the knots becomes the fuel for breakthroughs. If you obsess over hypnosis and try to create it and try to impose it, then you lose the fun of it. So the untying of the knots is all I'm really interested in. And the way I'm doing it is just by eliciting unconscious moments and responding to them. That's it. There's nothing else to do. So that's why I told you this is a preparation-free, pressure-free method. And I meant it. Any questions on the slides or on the approach, on the unconscious moments? Do you know what you're looking for? No questions? Anyone? So I do want you to grab the sheet if you don't have it in front of you. You know, you have it? Oh, Donna, I can't hear you because you're muted.
The thing is, I see it in the chat, but I'm not able to, like, I'm not signed up with Adobe, so I can't really like,
Oh, you can't open it? It's a PDF.
I can open it. Yeah, I guess I have to, yeah, okay. I have to like,
You have to double click on it and it should just open.
right.
I
Okay.
can email it to you. I mean, it's also in
Yeah,
the,
it'd be better if you could email. I opened it, but it was like, I can't.
it's too weird. There's in
Yeah.
the Facebook group under files, all of these documents are also available under the
Okay.
files tab
Right
of,
now, it's not letting me open it. I did before.
it's okay. But so I'll make sure you get one in your email as well. But they are in the files of the Facebook group as well.
Hold
The
on.
first page is level 1 question ideas. So the first question is always the main question. What's the problem? I like to follow that up with, how do you know that's a problem? And from there, we have, you know, a bunch of options for things that will investigate the problem more and more. When did you decide that? How is that different from how you used to be? What can I help you with today? What is going to change? When did this begin? What's not the problem? Why are you caught here? How do you know? Whatever it is that you just said. How often does this occur? Have you ever wondered? And so the point is, there's no limit to the kinds of questions you can ask, but you can use the sheet to give you ideas if you want. Donna, I'm gonna just send it to you right now so you have one. Can you get it out of Facebook or not really?
Um, I don't know. I have it
No.
up. I have it up, but I'm not able to. Like I have it on a split screen right now on the other side.
Okay, but you do have access to it. You don't need me to email it to you.
I wish you would though, and yeah,
Oh,
just
like,
ask
right.
it.
Okay,
No,
perfect.
like yeah, because the way that this is, I can't.
I will though, so you have a PDF that you can print out. Just by the way, I have my manual printed out on cardstock. So it's like, you know, and so I mean, I don't use them anymore because they're all memorized now, but I, for a long time, just had this series of cheat sheets in front of me. And if I really didn't know what the next question was, I'd just pick off the list. And then you end up having some favorites and some, you know, questions that work really well. So mine are color coded so that I know which one I already asked and which one is coming up. So question categories: who, when, how, what, not so much why, and when.
So the level one questions, basically, they start out and they are they're conscious questions that hopefully take someone to the next level, right? I mean,
There are no such things as conscious questions because it just doesn't matter what you ask. All
the
that
thing,
matters is what they answer.
okay.
The answer is all that matters. The questions are totally vehicular. Is that the right word? They're just vehicles, but like they're irrelevant. People think that the knots are getting untied based on what questions are being asked, but they're not. They're getting untied in the spaces between the questions. The questions are merely openings. So a question could be conscious for one person and totally unconscious for another person. Like, I mean, the best example is, what's the problem? Half the people will give you a conscious, regurgitated, garbled, you know, vomited, repeated version of the problem. That's 50% of people. 50% of people will be like, what's the problem? And they'll be like, that's interesting. And the next thing you know, they're thinking about their problem and you haven't even started yet. So it really doesn't help to categorize the problems. I mean, the questions. I wouldn't say that they're one or the other. Everything depends on how it's read on the other side. I think one interesting piece of this that is so different from what we're used to doing is nothing depends on me and my interpretation. Like the typical therapist mind is like, oh, well, so why did they have that thought? Or like, what is that about their childhood that I could, or did they realize that, when that happened, this happened? Like, I'm only very, very distantly connected to that through my education, like that I'm holding way back here. But actually, what's happening here inside of the hypnosis is I'm disengaged from all that. I'm not attached to all of that because I don't know anything about what it means to them, what it means to, me. I don't know if I'm just biased. Like sometimes people will tell you, you know what? I do think I'm going to keep smoking. I actually do love my smoking. It's helping me in my life right now. And so, like, it's not my job to then say, but you said you didn't want to smoke when we started. Because then it's oppositional, right? Like, then that's not my work. So, whatever they say is right. It really is, I mean, unless it's criminal or unless, I have a legal obligation to report a certain number of things. But if they're not going to hurt anyone or themselves, whatever they say is right. You want to keep smoking? Go right ahead. There's never any time that their subconscious is wrong because it's just resolving things as it's coming out for them. I have no idea what that process is. That makes sense. It's not your job to understand why the problem exists. It's just your job to create more and more unconscious moments until their subconscious grabs onto it. That's why it's really the no prep and no pressure method, because as soon as I introduce that element, I have now heroized myself. But like, it wouldn't make sense if I just came here and said, okay, do nothing. Like that could be the whole course. I thought of that. So I just tell people, okay, just do nothing. Just show up and just do nothing. That's essentially the bottom line. Just do nothing. Just wait. But that's not helpful. Like that's not telling you to do something. So we're couching the do nothing in these steps. Be curious. Investigate the problem. And I mean, there's more to it. Like tomorrow, I'm going to add some more layers to it. And there's a level 2, so I'm going to add even more layers to it. Like, I'm not saying that doing nothing is enough, but ultimately, we're using all of the steps to do nothing ourselves from a therapeutic perspective.
Well, it's like you're saying, stay out of the way, let the client do work, but give them, give them the ladder to walk to climb up, or something.
And what you just said is exactly how I explain it on the discovery call. I say, I'm the Sherpa. We're going to go up Everest together. We've never been there. It's wild up there. Some crazy shit goes on that you've never seen in your life, so you're going to really enjoy it. But you have to walk. I will not take you up there. I'll help you with your stuff. I'll help you with the map. I'll orienteer for you. And I will make 100% sure that you come down safely. And that is a very important part of my job. I'm going to go with you and come back. I'm committed to that. But the whole trek is yours. And so I'm very emphatic about that on the discovery call. And I say to them, it's a consent-based process. It's super important that we both agree with each other that that's how it's going to work. And this is all in their best interest because their subconscious is listening to me, telling them what's the process. And then as it leaves that discovery call, it's going to think to itself, how am I going to do that? That's what I'm trying to trigger in them. That's the whole point, is I want their subconscious to do that exact thing, which is, well, how will I do that? And they might not know. That's why they show up for the session, because they still don't know, but their subconscious is now oriented in that department. So that when I start my process of making it malleable, the subconscious is like, oh, that's all I needed. I just needed that, experience. So then I'm just creating a forum, basically. The whole thing is based on unfolding process that has been primed from the very beginning. That's why I don't have to work so hard. But you see, creating that whole process is a lot of work. It's just that it's not the same work as undoing the problem, which is what almost all healing modalities are about. How do I fix the problem? Okay, you guys want to do another practice? We
Sure,
better.
I wanted to,
Yeah.
it was really interesting because I was looking down and I see what you already have in terms of skills, which can help. And that's a different question from avoid solution-oriented questions because it's more open-ended, where solution-oriented questions are sort of
Yes.
direction-oriented.
You nailed it. Exactly.
So everything is open-ended, basically.
And that's the whole idea here is the transfer. When you guys read my reviews, like there's 75-star reviews on Google right now, which is only a fraction of the people who've come in. But like, why would they all be so good? I mean, you guys are here with me right now. You can tell I'm just a regular person, right? I'm not like a magician. I don't have any superpower hypnotic skill beyond what everyone else has, right? So why is everyone so fucking excited? That's the answer, is the open-endedness of my relationship with them puts them in touch with that open-ended part of them, which is what we came to Earth to experience. That's the point of being a human being in the way I understand it. I mean, there's a lot of different things going on here. But why would somebody not react extremely positively to the feeling of, oh, this is the part that's been missing. This is the part that I've never gotten in touch with in my life. That's what's missing in the fix it mentality, right? It's like, I'll fix it. I'll help you fix it because you don't have that inside of you. But so now we've disempowered them. So the open-endedness that you've just pointed out, Philip, so beautifully is exactly what explains the positivity of the reviews. It's not that I did anything. It's that they got in touch with something that they have been looking for and they want to talk about it now.
Philip, you just said something about a page that said prior. Where is that? What you just
Oh,
said?
this is on the page that you were trying to download, and that I'm reading the page. And one thing I did was I made the size of the Zoom screen a lot smaller so that it only takes up half my screen.
That's what I did. Yeah.
And
But
then I just went to downloads. Do you know where downloads is on your computer?
yeah, I have it, but I'm just asking because I have 101 level questions,
Oh, I'm
and
on the next page.
then it says intensifiers, ratifiers,
We haven't done that yet.
power.
Oh.
No, power words, but what was he talking about? Because he said
Oh,
something.
he was just talking about one of the questions on the list.
Yeah, I'm the third page down.
Oh, okay.
And
Sorry.
by the way, I mean, like, I thought about giving you guys this PDF beforehand, but I don't like doing that because then people get the idea like, oh, it's a script-based education, which it's not. You don't need to know these questions. These are just cheat sheets, basically, because your curiosity is on whatever the topic actually is. You know, like, I don't know what a person's going to say. So I don't want you to think like, oh, these are the questions that conversational hypnosis is built on. Because conversational hypnosis is just built on curiosity. So that's why they're not distributed to you.